Spanning the globe to bring you the constant variety of art. It's the Tenant Podcast. I'm Todd Pearson, coming to you from the 40 West Arts District in Lakewood, Colorado. And joining me from his podcast studio on the Sun, he puts the co in host, my friend and yours, Wes Brown.
Oh my God, Todd, how you doing? Holy shit, it's another week.
Yeah. It's hot where you're at, right?
South Dakota? It's like the sun. It's like the sun. So yeah, I don't know why, because usually it's not hot here until like August, but now it's hot. Hey, global warming at its best. I'm sure, my Tesla's not helping at all. I'm just going to go back to remember when I used to drive a 1-ton diesel? I think I'll go back to that.
Yeah. Just driving around polluting everywhere.
What the hell am I thinking? I got like a Tesla. Like I would have never dreamed I would ever own a Tesla until my friend Dan told me about his friend selling his Tesla, and he pulled up into it and it was blue. And I said, I'll buy it.
Really? That's blue. How that came about?
That's how it came about. Yeah. A friend of a friend. God damn. Dan sucks. No, I'm just kidding. I love Dan. He's a great guy.
And that was before that was before you knew all the ins and outs of.
Well, that was right before, do we go political? Right before the Trump buddy became, when he was like an entrepreneur, everybody thought he was going to save the world by, taking us all to Mars. And, and then I buy a Tesla. And the next thing you know, he's sending a bunch of money to Trump, and people are burning, the cyber trucks in parking lots, and I park mine in my garage and secretly drive it to work when it's still under the cloud of darkness. And but anyway, here I am, and we got another. I think this is going to be a great conversation time. Looking forward to this. It's a hoot. And but yeah. So how are you doing, my friend?
I'm doing good. It's god awful hot here. It's going to be crazy hot the next few days, which is ridiculous. Seeing how it's mid-June. I don't expect to see triple digits until, end of July, first part of August, typically. But nope, here we are in June.
I mean, we can go years without hitting triple digits. And June 20th, we're supposed to hit 100. Crazy.
It's gross. Nuts. I'm not a fan of the heat. I've never have been. Growing up in Alaska, I can deal with cold. I do not deal well with the heat.
Yeah.
Did you get out and protest this past weekend?
I did not. Sorry.
No. Stayed at home.
I kind of forget about it. We drove by and I was like, this is no lie. We were driving to Lowe's, right? Because we're packing up for getting new carpet. And then I can have visitors come and not be embarrassed. But we were going to Lowe's and I seen all the tents and everything. I'm like, what the hell's going on? And then later that night, I was like, oh, it's the protest, No Kings protest. Like it was so peaceful here. People carrying little signs, and that was it. That's South Dakota though. We're not burning shit in the street like LA. So there you go.
Well, it was peaceful here in Denver as well. And it was a great turnout. And I enjoyed going down there and spending time with all the people that are, up in arms about what's going on currently. Yeah. And it was just nice to be a part of that. I went down, did a little photography.
Nice.
In addition to just, going down there with Barb. And
Are you going to release any of the images on Instagram?
You know what? I just started editing them day before yesterday, but I've been pretty busy this week. But I'm going to try to get that done tomorrow, and I'll have some images. I got some good stuff actually.
Oh, good. Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing it. Love your stuff, man.
And then I watched a great documentary this past weekend on Teddy Roosevelt.
Oh,
on Prime. And I was actually, I knew some stuff, and he's one of those presidents that gets thrown out a lot, but I don't think people realize, I hear a lot of Republicans talk about Teddy Roosevelt as their favorite president, but I don't think they know the true history of Teddy Roosevelt, how progressive he was. He was pretty damn progressive. Right? Yeah.
I mean, we have national parks because of him,
Yeah, and he was for the everyman. He thought everybody deserved a fair shake. And as he got older, he got more progressive. So
yeah,
it was entertaining. Everybody should check it out. We could use Teddy Roosevelt right now in this fight against this president we currently have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then when you get done watching the documentary, you need to drive up to South Dakota, go to Mount Rushmore, and look at his big mug on the mountain. So there he is, along with Jefferson and Lincoln and Washington.
Before Trump tries to put his face in there.
Yes. One of my favorite rides on my motorcycle is going around that.
Yeah. No, it's cool.
244. Anyway.
All right.
Wow, we digress.
That. Yes. I just want to thank everybody for joining us. We're happy that you're here, filling your ear holes with the sweet sound of Tenet. That's right. I said ear holes.
That threw me. With the sweet sound of smooth jazz.
Remember to follow us on Instagram at Tenet Podcast, where you can see the work of all the wonderful guests that we have, and you can keep up with what we're up to. All right. We are absolutely honored to be able to talk with our next guest. You can check out his work at his website, richardaldenpeterson.com, and you can follow him on Instagram at rpphoto. Richard, how are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm excellent. I'm happy to see you.
Yeah.
We've had the opportunity to visit a couple times prior to this interview, and you're a person that I've known about for a while since we've been doing this podcast, following you on social media, but never had the opportunity to meet you in person till we met that day at Bardo Coffee down on Broadway. And
Right.
And that was a nice conversation to meet some of your other artists that you hang out with. Tanya Kaz, who we just had on the podcast a couple weeks ago, and see her work in person. But yeah, it was a great conversation with Dave Sealer and Paul Storm. Yeah. I forgot his name for a second. But yeah, what a great collective of people that you've surrounded yourself with.
Thank you. Yeah, we're having fun and trying to promote art.
I love that. That's been your goal and what you've been trying to do all your life, right?
Yeah. I've always been like a creative activist, an art activist, and making my own art. And I studied photojournalism, but always approached it from a creative side. Like when I wrote for the underground press in the 70s, I wrote political satire, far left political satire, making fun of corporations and things, which seems to not have changed.
Right? Nothing seems to ever change. It's history just repeating itself. You think that we could shake this whole thing off, but nope, it rears its ugly head every generation.
Yeah, I think it tries to, and then somebody sends it backwards, like Trump.
Yeah, just
he's hardcore sending it backwards.
That guy's a grenade thrower, just walking around throwing grenades everywhere he goes.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Yeah, he likes to keep everybody on the edge.
Yeah, like canceling funding for arts, like museums. Like he just announced canceling funding for libraries, banning books,
public broadcasting, right?
Yeah.
Department of Education.
Yeah, it's all the things that Nazis did. It's all the same things, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So, which is scary. And then ICE deporting people with barely even finding if they have a real reason to be deported, and heard a lot of them, they're being deported not because they're illegal immigrants, because they broke the law, because they got like a speeding ticket.
Yeah.
Which is crazy.
It is. It's ridiculous. And it really gets me.
Yeah.
It really pisses me off is what it does.
Me too.
I'm going to try not to be pissed off, because I'm going to get aggro if I go too far down that rabbit hole, but I'm happy to talk about it.
Me too.
I want to start off this by talking about your early influence and engagement with art. How did you get set onto this path, and how did you start engaging with your preferred medium, which is photography?
Well, that would be on my 12th birthday, which before my 12th birthday, I thought I was going to be a chemist. And then my uncle, who was a Navy photographer, gave me a toy darkroom set. I'm 74, so that's back in the days when you could buy darkroom toy sets in the toy store.
That's awesome.
That day he showed me how to develop film, and I was so taken by it that I thought, I'm going to be a photographer. And I went into it obsessively. By 8th grade, I knew enough that the 8th grade teacher had me teaching the 7th graders how to use the darkroom. So,
wow. So you actually had a darkroom in your middle school?
Yes. Yeah, we did.
That's pretty fantastic. Where did you grow up?
It was east of San Diego in a little town called Santee in El Cajon Valley.
Okay. What was that like growing up?
Well, when I was there, it was very rural and a lot of space between houses, and it's kind of steppe country, which is kind of halfway to the desert and halfway, I don't know what the land is before the desert, but halfway desert. So, but a lot of farms and ranches and grass fields and spaces between houses, and all the girls I dated owned horses, that kind of thing. Now it's completely overgrown with suburbs and houses, and all the mountains I used to climb there are dense with houses and shopping centers, and it's completely changed.
Wow.
But, yeah.
You're another SoCal baby, because I grew up I was born in Oceanside, California. So,
I know. Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, I was at Camp Pendleton. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. That's wild.
Yeah.
I spent a lot of time in Oceanside.
Yeah. Yeah. I just have to say that because Todd always talks about the great state of Ohio. So when I hear somebody born or grew up in Southern California, I got to say hi to SoCal. So
yeah, that's cool. Yeah. Yeah. That's amazing.
I'm glad you got your plug in there, Wes.
Thank you. Doesn't happen very often.
Yeah. Yeah. I always like it when I meet someone who knows the area.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then cool. I moved there. I moved to El Toro, California, and I lived in Santa Ana, but I was stationed in El Toro back in the 80s. So, so it was like going home in a sense. I love Southern California. I know it's crazy with people and craziness, but when I go back to visit, I still love the beaches and all that. So in San Diego area, I haven't been east to San Diego where you grew up, but it's a wonderful place. It's very beautiful.
Yeah. I spent time in El Toro too.
Oh, did you?
I was dating someone there.
Nice.
But El Cajon is interesting because the main intersection has El Cajon's the biggest city near Santee where I was. And the main intersection, the biggest building has flying saucers on the side of it because it's the Unaria Center.
Oh, really?
It's the flying saucer temple. So the very center of town is, you go to the main intersection and you see flying saucers in the Unaria Center with all these otherworldly mannequins and things in the window. And their Bibles are based on Nikola Tesla. So it's Nikola Tesla text through all their work.
Oh, interesting. Funny.
Yeah.
Did you know about that, Wes?
No, not at all.
Huh.
Yeah. Yeah. We went dumpster diving there before to collect paintings of UFOs by their students out of the dumpster. But,
that's crazy.
That sounds like fun.
Yeah. You can look it up. I think there's things about it on Wikipedia or the internet.
So what's the center called again? You said
Unarius. Starts with a U. Unarius. Yeah.
Are they part of the Urantia?
I'm not sure.
Okay, because I think it's Urantia. Is it
Urantia?
Urantia. Yeah. They have this big thick Bible. I have one of those. I had a friend who was a member, and he gave me a book. And then find out, my neighbor who lives right next to that moved in, his dad is a follower of Urantia. So it's just weird. Yeah, weird.
Yeah, that is weird.
Yeah. Anyway, I love that kind of weird stuff like that when that happens.
It's the universe telling you something, Wes.
I know.
Yeah, yeah. The other things from El Cajon, I know of Frank Zappa lived there for a while, and Lester Bangs was raised there, who's the rock critic. He wrote for the magazine I worked for called The Door, and then went on to Rolling Stone and Cream Magazine and all that.
Wow.
he tried to recruit me for Cream magazine later when I was writing, but I was still living with my parents, so I felt too young to move to Ann Arbor to work for Cream.
That's funny. So you grew up in this small town in Southern California. You hit high school. Now, when did you start the whole photojournalism thing? It sounds like you may have started pretty young.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, well, I always loved writing and photography, so I kind of did that from, say, sixth grade. In sixth grade, I had some writing published, and then I was photographing and writing for school publications, like in junior high school, and then in high school, I became the editor of the school paper and kind of took over the paper and wrote most of the articles and took all the photos and did the yearbook thing. And when I was 15, I rode my bicycle to the grocery store to buy some things for my mom. And while I was there was a guy dressed in all white who really stood out. This is a very rural town, so seeing somebody like that was really out of place. And I think I was staring at him because he looked strange. And he walked up to me and turned out to be a disc jockey from the main rock station in San Diego. So he liked me for some reason and invited me to come to the radio station and hired me to become the rock photographer for the station. So I started shooting backstage at all the rock shows at 15 for the San Diego area, and got to fly on planes to LA and ride buses back to San Diego, sitting next to Neil Young, and buses with turtles and birds in Buffalo Springfield and things like that. And photographed the Supremes and got to go backstage with all these people. Strawberry Alarm Clock. Ricky Nelson was the first one. And so that sort of put my foot in the door. I don't know what you call it.
Yeah.
They were shooting rock people for shooting celebrities like that. And they put out a newspaper called Go Newspaper. So they were publishing my photos in that newspaper and using them for their other PR things, printed things. There was no internet then, so it was all printed work.
Sure. Yeah.
And then one thing led to another, and they kept introducing me to more people. And then I was also the editor of the paper in high school. One of the best things in high school was I had a teacher who kept saying, there's something different about you, and you're going to be the future, and it's different. So instead of making things the way they've been, why don't you see what you can do that's different? And that's how he let me run the newspaper, the school paper. So we had a psychedelic newspaper with collages and fluorescent pink centerfolds and crazy things. Like it was the psychedelic 60s. So
that is so cool that he recognized that in you and that he encouraged you to just experiment and explore, right?
Yeah. So I was very lucky. And I had him for most of my classes. He taught photography, English, journalism. And I think the last year of school, I had him for 4 classes. So that was a lucky thing for me.
Right on, man.
Yeah. And also I was for some reason, I became attorney general of my school one year. The guy that wanted to be a political person ran me for office. I didn't really want to, but he wanted to experiment with running somebody for office. So he ran me against 6 other people for attorney general, which I didn't know what attorney general was. And I won. So, and then I had started working for the underground newspaper in San Diego, The Door, at the same time, the one that I went on to write for later. And so I started selling the underground newspaper from the student body office window, like with front covers that said like, fuck you, Scrooge. And everybody I sold out the whole stack of papers so that like on lunch hour, everybody in the school was carrying around this newspaper, which of course I got suspended for like 2 weeks from school for it. But
how did that go over with your parents when you got suspended for selling The Door?
Well, I tried not to tell them, but my mom went to like a PTA meeting or something, and somebody held one up in front of all the parents to tell them this horrific thing that one of the students had done. And she recognized it and knew it was me. And then she was really upset. No. Yeah, I never heard the end of that.
That is so funny. Were your parents pretty open-minded? I mean,
No,
they weren't.
They were deeply religious, and they made me go to church twice a week until I was 18. So, which I couldn't wait to escape from, to a Texas-based kind of white evangelist church, but were sinful to play musical instruments or dance or drink and all that stuff.
Oh, wow.
And yet, and yet at 15, you start working for this radio station, and you're photographing like all these big rock and roll bands. Like, how does that even equate in that particular equation?
Well, I was always a rebel type. So,
are you the oldest in your family?
Yeah, yeah. I have one younger brother. Also in high school, him and I started a psychedelic light show in 10th grade, and he was in 7th grade. And we started one of those psychedelic light shows with oil and water. And I used my photography and slide projectors, and we used old movies. First, we started doing high school dances for $10 a night. You remember the psychedelic light shows?
I know what you're talking about. Yeah. So you're talking about like what they did before you had all this technology for like, essentially on a smaller scale of what they were doing for like rock shows, right?
Yeah. Except we'd have like 15 projectors running and all these things. Wow. So we'd invent contraptions to make lights flash and things, like spinning wheels with holes in them and stuff. So we had a light show called Illusion Light Show, and we had a station wagon that had Illusion Light Show painted on the doors on the side. And the police stopped us every single time we drove the car and searched it, because they were so determined that they were going to find drugs in our car.
Right. Yeah.
in our little rural town.
Early version of profiling.
Yes. A lot of times they'd stop us even in the driveway of my parents' house and search our car. It was insane.
Jesus.
And we couldn't go anywhere in the city without getting stopped.
So when is this around? Like mid to late 60s?
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And my brother still owns the company, but now it's one of the largest stage lighting companies in Southern California. And he has tours with rock bands and all that kind of thing, and has hydraulic lifts for his lights and trucks and all that stuff.
Holy crap.
So from 7th grade, he went on to evolve this little light, $10 a night light show to something huge.
That's crazy. I love that. That's awesome.
So it was great. And I didn't want to go that route. So I went into art, creative things like art and photography and writing, the things I love.
Yeah.
And art activism. Art activism, because I think, especially more and more, because people don't really know how to see art. And it bothers me, because I think art is a very important voice in society. In other cultures, I think people get it more than they do here. And I think it's fallen away. Its importance as a language, like it's a universal language that connects the whole world.
And it says things that the written language can't, right?
That's right. Right. It opens windows and it makes you think. Yeah. It opens minds. I just read something about that, how psychologists studying how art is perceived causes people to have an open mind more. Because it's a one-way conversation.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And in Switzerland, doctors have started prescribing museum visits to patients for both physical and mental healing.
Oh, I did not know that. That's interesting.
Yeah, you can look it up. It was just in the internet articles recently.
Why do you think that here in the United States, why do you think that people don't have the ability to look at art the way that they really should?
I think they're distracted by all of the manipulative social things, or all the they're distracted by the big guys spending money to distract their attention to get their money.
I don't think we're taught very well to, like, what is art, how to look at art.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's it. That's
critical thinking, right? Is not really taught in our schools the way it used to be.
Yeah. Especially out of school. And a lot of people, now so many people are uneducated, and like our new administration is trying to downplay education and take funding away from it.
Right.
And take knowledge away from it by taking books away, to streamline it so that everybody's a patriot. That's what they've said. That's what they want to do from the early education, make sure it's all patriotic.
Right.
Which, that's awful. I don't believe in nationalism. I think there should be universalism.
Right.
We're all connected, so it shouldn't be so divisive.
Agree.
Yeah.
How did you convince your parents at age 15 to go start photographing these rock bands for this radio station? Like, especially knowing the environment that you just explained that you grew up in.
Well, I think they were excited because, I don't know. Well, they were worried about me not getting a government job. I remember that. But I'm not sure. I can't really remember. But I think they thought it was important. I also did I did high school news on the radio station too. So
that was probably an easy sell, right? That you were doing news.
Yeah. I think because the DJ and his secretary talked to my mom, and they convinced her that everything was going to be cool.
Right.
I think that's what happened. Yeah. Yeah, I also did the news once a week. I had people call me from other high schools and things, so I gave the highlights of the high school news on the air once a week too.
I like that.
That's pretty cool. I'm going to share my screen real quick, but so this is a picture of you
with Ricky Nelson.
Ricky Nelson.
And it's taken by the disc jockey I worked with.
And you look like a very fine young man.
Right.
Were you pretty gregarious as a child?
No, I was incredibly shy.
Okay, I kind of thought that might be the case, but I'm like, well, geez, this guy, this radio DJ took to you. It sounded like pretty much immediately, and saw something in you, and yet you're this shy kid, and you get to do the news, which for some people that would be a bit mind blowing, and it
was totally mind blowing. I couldn't even believe it was happening. Yeah. The same with the photography of the bands and going backstage with all the famous people. It was with Cream or hanging out with Frank Zappa or any of those people.
I can't even imagine, because some of those people are, some of my favorite music.
Me too.
I can't even imagine being a teenage kid. I'm trying to think of what it would have been like to be 16 and hanging out with Cream or Neil Young or any of those guys, actually. Any of those groups.
It was wild. Made me very nervous.
It probably taught you a lot, though, too. I'm sure you saw a lot at that age. You're like, whoa, never thought I'd seen that.
Yeah, it kind of prepped me for the punk scene later on.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah.
Gave me some confidence. But then after that, I became more of a writer when I did the underground press, when I wrote for The Door in 71, around 71. 70 and 71, I think, is when I started that. That was originally The Door to Liberation, but then it merged with the Good Morning Teaspoon and became just The Door. That's the newspaper that Lester Bangs and Cameron Crowe wrote for.
So because you were doing this type of photographic work, and I imagine you have, a huge archive, especially at this juncture of the game, of all
Yeah.
these musicians.
Yeah.
Some of which
Yeah.
you alluded to, that you just started to, scan some of the imagery that some
Right.
people have never had the opportunity to see. Were you
Yeah.
pretty popular in school?
Well, with some people, I was kind of like, this is what, 64 that I started school. I hung out with the art circle, which didn't really go well with the, what do you call it, the jock circle, the bully circle. There were some guys that picked on me because they thought I was weird. And then there were other guys, people that adopted me because they loved. There were like 6 of us smoking pot, which I started when I was 14.
Wow, you started young.
Yeah, and hardly anyone was doing it then. A 12th grader introduced me to it. He thought it would help my creativity.
Did it?
And yes. Yep. Yeah, I liked it. Good. But more people across the 4 years of high school, more and more people joined in to smoke. But in the beginning, I think there were like 6 of us. I'm glad it's legal now because it was so nerve-wracking all those years.
Sure.
Right. Yeah.
Having to hide it and all that.
Being paranoid that somebody was gonna,
Yeah.
arrest you or whatever.
Yeah. I was never arrested, but a couple times I almost got caught, but the cops didn't care. They just let us go.
So this is really interesting that this is happening in a rural community in, what sounds
Yeah.
like the mid 60s, right? Like,
Yeah, right. Yeah.
you just wouldn't picture that,
Yeah. 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 I was kind of the oddball in the city. I listened to music that nobody else wanted to listen to. Like my favorite bands were like the Stooges and Velvet Underground. For some reason, I liked listening to all the things that nobody else was paying attention to, or looking at the things. Like I was looking for all the underground newspapers that were coming out around the US from the 60s scene, and collecting the Oracle from San Francisco and things like that. And tiny little underground record store opened in my city, the size of a closet. And I was buying like albums by the Fugs and Velvet Underground and things there. I think I was their only customer. I'm not sure. But yeah, I was always an experimenter and collected just counterculture. I was always attracted to counterculture things.
I think it's so interesting because that's not the scenario or the environment you really were coming from. But you found it on your own, right? And you found your
Exactly. Yeah.
your own tribe.
I did. Yeah. Yeah. And I found exactly when I moved to San Francisco later and went to Mabuhay Gardens, I walked in for the first time and talked to some people, and I met other people that said their favorite band was the Velvet Underground. And I thought, wow, I found more people like me.
Right.
And that was like, and people that liked Iggy Pop or whatever. And it's like, wow, this is my tribe. Kind of.
Yeah.
Although I've never found an exact tribe, but they were more like rebels or free thinkers. Not people just not afraid to be different and break the rules. But the early punk scene, nobody looked alike. It wasn't a costume. In the 70s, and the dance was the pogo, it wasn't the mosh pit. It was radically different than it became like in 80 when Black Flag and those people came around and changed everything. And it was more female-dominated early hunt.
Interesting. That's something I didn't know.
Yeah, it was way different. And if you look at my earliest photos of the crowd, hardly anyone looks like a punk. They look crazy and deranged, but also in San Francisco, it was mixed identities. There were a lot of probably trans, every kind of sex. mixed together, and everybody just partied and danced together, and nobody cared. And there were multiple races, probably more so than in other cities. San Francisco's a very open city, and a lot of artists and poets and writers, because like Search and Destroy came out of City Lights bookstore. So very, a very creative scene, which a lot of bands from LA would come to town and call us weird because they thought we were so different. It was a very unique scene. There was nothing else like it.
So how did you get from San Diego to San Francisco? What brought you there?
I moved there because I was studying photojournalism, and originally I went to Grossmont College, which is a community college. Or they were called junior colleges back then. Mm-hmm. That was actually my favorite school. My best photo teacher was there, David Wing, who taught me how to do archival darkroom printing and things that I still use his techniques he taught me to this day, and have had a lot of prints I printed for famous artists and things that have been in MoMA and SF MoMA and Sophia Museum in Madrid and other places in Germany and things.
Wow.
And yeah, he was very influential, and he publishes his own books now. He's retired, but still stays in. I recently started staying in touch with him, and he's been sending me books. He's really cool. And then from there, I went to San Jose State because they were supposed to have a good journalism department, but they didn't have a very good photo department. So from there, I went back to San Diego State after there. But while I was at San Jose State, I made a girlfriend who was going to Berkeley. So I started spending a lot of time in Berkeley, riding my bicycle every weekend from San Jose to Berkeley, which is 40 miles.
Oh, wow.
Holy cow, man.
I know. Not many hills. That was the good part. It's mostly flat the whole way. So, and I was younger then, so it wasn't too hard.
But still, 40 miles, that's nothing to sneeze at.
Yeah.
Like you were in shape.
Yeah, it was. And they didn't have electric bikes then either.
Right.
And yeah, although it was kind of crazy coming back at, say, 2 a.m. on Monday, because I'd stay as late as I could. Coming back at 2 a.m. when there's no moon, because I took side roads, and there's no street lights, and you'd be on these rural roads where I'd accidentally drive off the road and out into the bushes, and then I'd be like kind of crawling on the ground trying to figure out where the road was, practically. So, but it was interesting.
What an adventure.
So she was studying linguistical psychoanalysis at Berkeley and an acid queen. So
you continued your experimental phase through that time period as well with this new gal.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So did a lot of that. And from there, I was living in Berkeley with her and got a job in San Francisco at a photo studio on Broadway. Broadway is very close to City Lights bookstore. So every lunch hour, I started going to City Lights bookstore to look at the books, I love books, so that was kind of my obsession. And I became friends of the bookseller, Vale, who started giving me tours of all the most radical and interesting books. And he loved the surrealism section, so he started showing me all the cool surrealism books and things. And one day he said, "Hey, there's this new scene starting up called punk, and I'm going to publish a magazine. I'm publishing a magazine about it. Would you like to be involved?" And I said, "Sure, I could write." And he said, "Well, we don't need writers. This is City Lights bookstore. We need a photographer." So
and for some of our listeners, I'm gonna stop you right there, because like Wes and I know what you're talking about when you're talking about City Lights bookstore, but
Right.
give it some context because the younger listeners may not know the significance. They
Oh, yeah.
may know, but some people might not know the significance of City Lights.
Yeah. City Lights is like the central hub of the beat scene from the 50s with Lawrence Ferlinghetti, the poet, and Allen Ginsberg and Jack Kerouac on the road, all that. That was probably their nuclear home, the central place for them. It was down the street from the Trieste Cafe where they wrote a lot of their things and hung out a lot in North Beach, where all the coffee houses are, and where I spent a lot of time and drank gallons of espresso and meeting. That's where you meet everyone there. There's coffee houses everywhere in North Beach, the Italian district. And yeah, so City Lights is legendary for being a central hub of the beat scene. And that's also why I met Bruce Conner, the artist that I went on to work with for 30 years. And he worked with me on Search and Destroy. I think the second staff meeting we had for Search and Destroy, Bruce Conner came in and said he wanted to become one of the photographers. So my staff photographer for Search and Destroy was one of the most famous artists in the world, who was considered the godfather of MTV, who made synchronized collage films for movies all the way back from the 50s and the Beat era. So he's was considered one of the central Beatnik artists from San Francisco. And but he went through every scene. He was also core in the psychedelic scene. He used to do a lot of collages for the San Francisco Oracle and things like that. And he used to hang out, make movies with Timothy Leary and Dennis. Oh, he was Dennis Hopper's. Dennis Hopper claimed that he was the single most important influence on all of his films, that kind of thing. And Dennis Hopper plays a big part in his exhibitions and in Bruce Conner's exhibitions. But then I photographed alongside Bruce Conner, and this became his photographic body of work. He worked in every medium, which drove the museum people crazy because they never knew what to do with him. But they never also were afraid to work with him because he quit a large portion of the shows that he would start because he didn't like to work with curators. And if you did it wrong, he would just walk out. He did lots of crazy things. He faked his death. He'd send letters to Art Forum and tell them that he had died. So they would publish that he had died.
I just read that just a little while ago about that.
Oh, you did?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, you did? Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. He did this multiple times, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. A couple times. Yeah. Or he did things like he was applying to teach at, I think it was San Jose State. And after he filled out the application, he had to put his thumbprint on the paper. And at that time, he was signing his prints with thumbprint. So he picked up the application and said, well, you can't keep this because now it's one of my works of art. And he walked out with it. So that's what he was like.
Oh, man.
Yeah, he was notorious for closing shows because he didn't like the way they were done and things like that. And he was, the troublemaker of the art world. And I got to work with him for like 30 years.
Oh my God!
Never had a serious problem. Which the person who runs his estate, when I talked to them after he died in 2008, was talking to me, and they said, I could count on one hand how many people worked with him as long as you did without having a falling out. So
what was it about you that you were able to gel with Bruce?
I have no idea. That's always been a mystery to me.
Were you two peas in a pod? You like think alike and all that, or not necessarily?
Maybe on some levels, he, in a mystical way, but that's kind of hard to explain.
Right.
Because, he credited his art with having visions when he was young. And I had explained to him having some strange thing, leaving my body when I was 15, when I was young, having a lot of astral projection experiences. So that's one of my other influences.
Sure.
And one of the reasons I went into studying a lot of the consciousness things I do, which led me into UFOs and working with MUFON and all that stuff. So
we definitely want to touch on that, but I want to talk about some of the scene that you were in for Search and Destroy. Talk about the other cast of characters that you were working side by side with and producing Search and Destroy.
Okay. Well, that was very interesting group of people. They're very intelligent. It was kind of there were several regulars that were involved in it. Val, of course, is, do you know Val?
I know a little bit about him.
Yeah. He's very intelligent. He has an incredible collection of books, mostly of counterculture topics and underground topics, and just a stunning memory. He's 10 years older than me, but I think that's supposed to be a secret. But
well, it's safe here.
Okay, yeah. But I don't think he cares. Yeah. But I know a lot of interesting things about his upbringing and how he came to be, but that should be a different topic.
Sure.
Or a different, you should interview him directly to find that out. He used to be in the band tour with the band called Blue Cheer in the 60s. And one of the interesting things is a lot of the younger punks kind of resented the 60s. They put down the 60s people. They were separate from it. They didn't understand it. But Vale and the older punks saw a connection to it and saw it differently. And Ruby Ray is an older punk, a little bit older, like I am. She's younger than me, but older than some of the others. So there's like two categories of punks that I always saw. The young ones that hadn't experienced what we experienced. So I was an elderly punk because I was like 28. If that makes sense.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
No,
yeah,
totally. Completely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I touched on the 60s, so I saw some of the value of it and experienced that. Val especially saw that. He'd been in the band Blue Cheer. Do you remember them?
I do remember them. They're like a psychedelic kind of blues rock band, right?
Yeah, extremely loud. When their album came out, it was probably a PR thing. They announced that their band had to be recorded at the end of a pier because there was no studio that could contain them. It was so intense. I don't think that was true, but that's what they said.
They played off that whole reputation, huh?
Yeah. Yeah. And one of the band members was named Richard Peterson, who went by Dick Peterson. But he was a road musician who traveled with them when they went on tour. And one of the magazines that inspired Search and Destroy was the San Francisco Oracle. He was inspired by the Oracle and Dada zines, which is, he showed me a lot of the Dada. He collected Dada zines for City Lights. He was the person that brought them in and imported them from around the U.S. There were a lot of Dada zines coming out in the 70s. So Dada was a huge influence on Search and Destroy, and so was Surrealism, because Richard Wara, who went by Ricky Trance for Search and Destroy, was the co-publisher. His house was where Search and Destroy was assembled. Like it would be a 2 or 3 day party where people would just come and go. Some usually artists traveling from around the world, and then the regular core members like Ruby Ray or Steven Schwartz. Or Steven Schwartz was like a San Francisco political writer who used to write Marxist columns for the San Francisco Chronicle. That's probably the only city you could have a columnist writing that. But
Right.
and then there was another person working with us who was a filmmaker for Francis Ford Coppola. He had done a lot of the scenes for his films. And just amazing artists would travel through. So every issue had some different artists working on it that would travel through from Paris or Germany. And amazing people in from the bands, from a lot of the core bands back then, would stop in and help work on it or be interviewed. Very inspiring people.
I bet.
Yeah, it was just a magical period. Going to the shows then had an intensity that was magical. It's hard to describe punk as being magical, but it was. But the San Francisco bands had a creativity that was different than anywhere else. Most of them vanished. And a lot of them are so different sounding, like Tuxedo Moon. And some of them people don't realize are from San Francisco, like Romeo Void, who did Never Say Never. And the singer is really cool. She's still a friend of mine. She's Native American. She's indigenous, which a lot of people didn't realize.
Wow.
So that's really cool. And now she's a teacher near Palm Desert on a reservation area and is teaching.
Okay.
And she still travels and plays music.
That's so cool.
Deborah Io. She's really cool.
I remember when that song kind of broke mainstream, Romeo Void, Never Say Never, right?
Right.
In fact, I just heard that song like 2 days ago, I think, on the radio.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy, man.
Yeah. Those are some of the more popular songs that came out that not a lot of people realize are from there. Some of the really hardcore punks that like all their punk to be one sound. They always say, "Oh, that's not punk," but they played the club alongside everyone else. And back then, in the very beginning, there were no labels. So the Talking Heads at CBGB's, they were called punk because the industry hadn't really labeled things yet. Blondie was punk.
Yeah.
Right.
And the industry had to come along and label things so they'd know how to market things. So things that got divided up to, this is safe to market and this is how we're going to label it. Mm-hmm. Very different. Do you know Tuxedo Moon?
I do not know that group.
Oh.
But I'm gonna go down the rabbit hole now, Richard.
Okay. Yeah, they're very different. They're kind of dark and dreamy. And the Sleepers.
The Sleepers, okay. I've heard of them.
Yeah. They're kind of Nirvana, like rough-edged. And they're very influenced by Syd Barrett.
Oh, okay. Yeah, from Pink Floyd.
Yeah. My longest friend who stayed in touch for a long time, Mike Belfer, was the guitarist in that band. He was an amazing guitarist. Never got the recognition he should have.
Does it amaze you that some of these bands that you were photographing and embedded with during that time, that they just never got the traction that they deserved? I mean, that happens all the time in music, but
yeah, it is. It happened even more in San Francisco. We seem to have just been left out so many times when spectacular bands, some did a little better, like the Dead Kennedys. Although they had some political problems with members fighting with each other, and Bruce Conner actually recorded their first single. And then they had some kind of problems with him, with the ownership or something. I don't know exactly what happened. But there were a lot of quirky, very creative bands in San Francisco, and Pink Section. Factrix is really good, industrial, and Flipper, of course.
Flipper.
Flipper is really cool.
Did you realize in the moment how significant this was as it was happening, or was it after?
I knew. Yeah, you could feel it, and it was great. Yeah, just the passion of the people seeing bands like Crime or the Nuns. There was a passion and an energy and an intensity that you don't hardly ever get a sense of. People really meant it. You can't explain it. It's almost an unexplainable feeling. I don't know how to explain it, but it felt so powerful then. We just knew. Yeah.
So were you primarily writing or photographing at this time, or both?
Oh, photographing. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I pretty much stopped writing because that kind of took over. And I've written a little bit since then, but I've kind of gotten back into writing. I actually wrote an essay about Bruce Conner that was published in American Photo magazine online. It's 6,000 words, but you have to pay to read it, which I hate. And my subscription expired, so I can't even go there to read it now. I have two like that. And the Screamers. The first band I photographed were Avengers, and Penelope and the Avengers. They're really cool. Penelope used to come by my studio sometimes to watch me photograph other bands because she lived not far. My studio opened in '78, I think. When I worked in the photo studio, one week we didn't get paid because the owner decided to buy a Leica camera system, like you bought a camera and several lenses, so he couldn't afford to pay us, any of the employees. So he told us we had to wait for 2 paychecks before we get paid because he had to buy this camera system.
Oh my God!
So we all quit, and I thought, I'm just going to work for myself. I'm never going to work for anyone again. But I had very little money. So I used all the money I had to rent a studio space that I could find that was a former reform school, and was living on like 1 can of green beans a day and stuff for a while.
Jeez.
That's crazy to think about, but I imagine that those times are some of the greatest times, right? I mean, sometimes when you're the poorest is when, life is good.
Yeah. But I got some jobs, and I opened my doors the same day that Victoria's Secret opened across the hall for me, their very first office. And they became my first client.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I didn't shoot models, but I shot their products, their lingerie off models, and they own two companies. They also own the Xandria collection, which is sex toys.
Okay.
So when I photographed bands like Devo in my studio, my counters were full of sex toys.
That may have influenced a lot of their music. Who knows?
It may have. And my ex-girlfriend would, at night, for some reason, they would leave racks of their sex toys and lingerie just sitting out in the hallways. So my ex-girlfriend would just go out and take whatever she liked and bring them back. We were living in my studio.
That's awesome.
So, yeah, it was pretty crazy.
That is a great story.
And then my second client was a Saudi Arabian Texas steak company, a Saudi company that imported Texas steaks. It was 2 guys from Saudi Arabia, and they brought me both the steaks and a joint that was so strong that I forgot how to operate the camera. And they were standing over my shoulder, and I couldn't remember what f-stops were.
That's some pretty strong weed, man.
It was really strong. But the photos came out okay.
Oh, that's funny.
So I managed to get enough work. I saved Victoria's Secret because when I was first opening the studio, I was painting the walls one night at like 1 a.m. I was painting the walls white, and I heard this incredible crash. This is out in the industrial district in San Francisco, where it's nothing but factories, and Mark Pauline lived around the corner from me. So it's nothing but factories and Mark Pauline dumpster diving, looking for parts for his machines of destruction. But one night I heard this incredible crashing noise. So I ran out holding my paint roller with no shirt on. And it's two guys with a sledgehammer that had just smashed through the windows of my hallway so I'm standing between me and Victoria's Secret's first office. And and they yelled, "Cops, let's get out of here." And I'm holding a paint roller with no shirt on, covered in paint. So for some reason, they thought I was a cop.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
I was kind of lucky because they were holding a sledgehammer.
Right.
Victoria's Secret people thanked me for saving them because they had put all their money into opening the office and couldn't afford insurance because they'd run out of money.
That's
and said
crazy.
they would have lost everything if I hadn't saved them.
That's funny.
Yep. And they also told me that what really got their business going were the gay men in San Francisco, because they finally had a place to buy lingerie safely. So that's who launched Victoria's Secret.
Gay men.
Yes.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Little known fact. That's really interesting.
Yeah. That's
So-
what they told me anyway.
When you're doing this commercial work, are you still shooting for Search and Destroy? Was that going on at the same time, or was this after
Yeah.
you had been?
Yeah, it was going on at the same time, but it kind of crossed over because a lot of the commercial work I started doing kind of low cost for my friends who were in the punk scene, like the Zeros, to a crossover band who lived between San Diego or San Francisco. Like the Zeros, one of them had a girlfriend who was a fashion designer. So she would have me shoot the Zeros in her fashion design things, but the Zeros also had me shoot them as a band. And sometimes I'd have assignments like for Search and Destroy, or I'd take on assignments. And sometimes they'd pay me a fee. And for the people in the scene, I'd always give them a discount, good price. So I'd make a little bit, but I was also building my portfolio of those things. But I've always been like a crossover person I've always shot my commercial work creatively. I just don't have the ability to leave things normal.
Mhm.
I'm not able to. I don't know what's wrong with me.
There's nothing wrong with you. I can appreciate, as somebody that does commercial photography, I can appreciate that, because it's sometimes it's kind of soul sucking, right?
Yes, yeah. So I try to always find some twisted thing to do to it. And that's how I've been my whole life. Like even when I made my first darkroom prints when I was like 15, when a friend gave me an enlarger, like an Art Deco type enlarger. My very first print was a double exposure. I started experimenting, and I did that all through constantly. I still do. More things are experimental or off the wall than normal. I just never like things to be normal. Writing and photography and everything. And at least a little bit twisted, and gets me in trouble sometimes. I go to art directors and they go, like, "We can't use this, that's too art." And then I go to galleries and they go, "We can't show this, that's too commercial."
Mm.
I actually have heard that a few times. So
That's funny.
but now it seems all settled and I just do whatever I want. Now I'm retired, so I don't care anymore.
Right.
There you go.
And
there
that's the way it should be.
Now everything I do is art. That's what I say.
There you go. Yeah.
Yeah.
So how long did Search and Destroy last?
Yeah, that's an interesting question because Vale said he had studied art movements. He knew a lot about counterculture and art movements, Dada, Surrealism. What was his favorite? Situationist. He was really into the situationist. And he said the purity of an art movement could only last for so many years, for like 2 or 3 years. And that gives us the time to put out 10 issues. Mm. So we're going to put out 10, but we actually put out 11 because they were having too much fun. He said at that point, a movement dies and is co-opted by the record industry. And the punks did a pretty good job of keeping away the industry by acting offensive, by acting repulsive, by scaring people and making a degenerate facade that made it look like something they would never want to be near, which was actually intentional. It was like a game. That's how it was perceived and presented in the beginning. So.
And I read where you said that you felt with San Francisco was more akin to the London scene as opposed to what was going on in other places here in America. Is that true?
Yes, because there were a lot of politics in it. Yeah. There was several bands that were very political, and the Dills, UXA, United Experiments of America. Mm. Then there was a lot of poetics, unfortunately, a lot of kind of dark, like heroin, quite a few deaths from heroin, and then later that combined with AIDS, especially in San Francisco. Whole schools, whole families of people disappeared.
Wow.
And a lot of the bands, that's where a lot of the bands went. A lot of the very best bands died from either heroin or AIDS. Wow. A lot of really obscure people that I've talked to some people recently that are trying to bring back their memories, like noise artists like Slava, who was this Japanese scholar who translated Japanese and Russian literature, but he also promoted the industrial noise bands and had performances of exotic dancers in his flat. And he recorded Arctic Hysteria, which is an album of Japanese traditional instruments played through analog synthesizers. So really wild stuff.
I guess.
Yeah. So he's actually like one of the pioneers of industrial music and some of the most profound and intense music heard like that. Yeah.
Were you kind of the go-to guy in the scene when it came to the punk scene there in San Francisco, or were there a group of you that like a core group of photographers that were kind of working?
Well, there was Ruby Ray. Well, I would be the one in the beginning, but others evolved. I'd say in the very beginning, there were probably others, but I didn't know them. But the very beginning scene was very small. There was probably 50 people, from what I could tell. And others came along, like Ruby Ray would be. I mean, she's my favorite other one. She's the person I show with the most. And then Camera Z, who I think she moved to LA. She's a really great photographer. We each have a very distinct style, which I like. You can really tell if you see our body of our work side by side, you can tell which each of us was involved in it or which created it. And then for Search and Destroy, and then occasionally, can't remember their names. Occasionally they'd bring in outside photographers. Like I have a nude of Patti Smith that was taken by Robert Mapplethorpe that I have over in my studio. So
wow.
I saved a couple things. But we used to get like direct handwritten letters from Patti Smith and stuff where she'd send this photo by Mapplethorpe and things. And it's a nude of her.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Since we're talking about Mapplethorpe, did you know his brother, Edward?
No, I didn't.
Okay. Just curious.
No, there was a person in our scene who I think assisted him for a while. I can't think of his name now. Yikes.
Yeah, no worries. I was just curious because we talked to Edward and he's pretty out there as far as his photography. So I was just curious if you guys have ever
Oh, no.
cross paths.
Oh, I'd like to know about him.
Yeah.
Huh. Interesting.
He's an interesting cat for sure, and definitely like under the radar, like totally underrated. The fact
Wow.
that he hasn't
Yeah.
been shown, very much,
Right.
kind of blows my mind, really.
Wow. Yeah, I wasn't even familiar with him. That's wild.
So, what years were you documenting, kind of embedded in that scene in San Francisco?
Well, I was in San Francisco for almost a decade, from like 71 to 81. So and the peak of that scene was 76. Val first took me to the club in 76, I believe, at the end of 76. And I stayed involved until about 1980, and I probably went to a few shows in 81. But then it was becoming less interesting to me. And the mosh pit had come around and people seemed more violent and it seemed more male, like more aggressive, kind of. And Search and Destroy became research books at that point. It ceased. Research was pretty cool. I have occasional photos and research, but I moved away. So we had made a book. There was supposed to have been a book with Ruby Ray and myself and Bruce Conner and one other photographer that research was putting out. But Bruce never liked it. Oh, the publisher sabotaged it. The publisher didn't like it, obviously, and they kept sabotaging something in the book and the proofs. They made something wrong every time, and every time they corrected it, they'd make more mistakes. It looked like they were doing it intentionally, and Bruce Conner flipped out about some of it and refused to let the book come out, so the book was canceled. That was a strange period. That's when right before I left San Francisco. And I left San Francisco because my ex-girlfriend left me to move to New York because she wanted to date Tom Verlaine from television.
From television. Okay.
Yeah. Because, she'd done a long interview. She was interviewing the people I was photographing for Search and Destroy. She was a writer too, besides being studying linguistical psychoanalysis. She was extremely intelligent, but also a groupie.
Interesting.
Yeah.
You would think that those would be like two different scenarios, especially she was obviously intelligent because of what she was studying, right?
Right.
But she glommed on to that whole fame thing, it sounds like.
Yeah. She liked attention that way.
The scene changing, that's when you just decided that you were kind of done with it as far as the becoming more aggressive. And then was that the same period that the heroin was kind of coming into play and it got a little darker?
No, I think the heroin was there all along.
Okay.
It was kind of the William Burroughs kind of influence. Because I think that was always kind of a big part of our scene because of city lights. And there were different, the circle I was in, like William Burroughs and that kind of scene was a big influence just on the whole personality of the scene, I'd say.
Interesting that there's that connection from, that goes from the beats through the whole, hippies to the punk scene, right?
Yeah. Oh, when I went to the Mabuhay Gardens, especially at first, there used to be like old Beatniks with their canes and silver hair and their Beatnik caps on. They'd be right in front of the stage, like just mesmerized by the show.
That's funny.
I know.
So interesting.
I love it. Loved it. I took a few photos that had them in it.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, I never knew who they were, but I was always amazed by it. They totally got it. Bruce Conner was one of those people.
Yeah, because he was a little bit older.
Yeah, yeah. So he was an older punk, and he was one of the first ones to say jump on the stage and start throwing the singer off the stage. He was he was he was one of the wildest punks.
Oh my God, that's funny. But they're both counterculture, so it kind of maybe makes sense that the
That's
Beats.
right.
Yeah. So
yeah, he went through every counterculture thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you can see that if you go to his exhibitions. But yeah.
So once you left the punk scene, where did you go from there? Where did you land up?
Well, I was pretty crushed after Len left me. So then I went back to San Diego. Well, first I stayed in San Francisco for a little bit because I wanted to finish the book that supposedly was going to come out. So I finished putting that together, and I stayed there. I actually stayed long enough just to finish that. I stopped my studio work, and I moved in with someone else. And I moved in with a girl on the corner of Pink and Pearl, a brilliant artist, kind of dark artist, but a surrealist artist. She was very, very much in the surrealist family, and Deborah Valentine, and finished the book there.
Once the book was dropped, nobody ever picked it up and tried to recreate it with you and Ruby?
No, I think Bruce refused to let it come out. Bruce kind of canceled it. Bruce was like that.
Because it would be interesting now to resurrect it if a guy could,
Yeah, maybe he could, because Bruce is gone now, and
right.
I have some sway over the estate person, because I'm like the punk side of Bruce. Mm-hmm. I'm the person that knows the most of his punk side.
Right.
And that's why they pull me into his shows and things. And it's actually given me a lot of leverage in places for getting into the art world and all that.
Is Ruby Ray still with us?
Yes. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, she's still
you said
active.
You co-show with her. That's right.
Yeah. She's been showing a lot of places in, I think in San Francisco and things. Nice. Yeah, she's doing well.
Good. Yeah, it'd be interesting. It just this seems like a great time to resurrect that book, because it would be, nostalgic, and there's still a lot of people that are connected, were connected to that scene that are still, so it'd be fun to see that.
Yeah. Yeah. And probably now you could find a publisher that wouldn't sabotage it.
Right.
Would be another thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or redo it as a new version.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, I've had several attempts to make books, and they keep falling apart. What museum director tried to make one, but I think he dropped me to move on to Mark Mothersbaugh after I introduced him because he would sell more books.
Sure.
And never got back to mine. Someone else wanted to, but they wanted to make it into like a gossip book. They wanted me to write toward stories about what drugs they were addicted to and who they had sex with and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. And I didn't want to go that way.
Right. Yeah.
No, I don't blame you.
That wouldn't interest me.
Yeah.
I mean,
no.
The photography side and the writing side and the punk scene would be more interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That just wasn't me at all.
Right.
And one other person said she wanted to, but I don't think she had any connections or wasn't serious. It just never worked out.
Right.
And one other guy I fired because he told me he was a racist, which took me aside one day, and he goes, well, what do you think of black people? And he told me some stories that I said, I don't think we can work together.
No doubt. Right.
Yeah.
Don't need that.
I don't want to tell you what he said.
Right.
I want to look at some photographs of your work from that period.
Okay.
This particular one is actually of your friend Bruce.
Yes. That's his official punk portrait. That's what he said he wanted that one to be. And he said, you have to do this really fast because I can only do this once. And it was incredibly torturous for him. He also, same day, he also did some jumping off a ladder and he fractured his ankle.
Oh, geez.
So, yeah.
So this guy was all in, and no matter what he did, he was all in to make it happen.
Yeah. He spent the whole day with me doing several outfit changes and different scenes for portraits. But this particular one, he had in mind as his official punk portrait.
So what we're looking at right now is a portrait of Bruce Conner.
Yeah.
He's got a large pair of vice grips in his nostrils, clamped into his nostrils, which I can't imagine how painful that would be.
That'd make your eyes water for sure.
Yeah. It makes my eyes water just looking at the portrait.
Right. Yeah.
Was this your idea with the vice grips, or did he come up with that?
No, this one was his idea.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
The rest of the day we did some with my ideas, but this one was his. He had two ideas that were his, and he had another one where he wore a money belt. That's a belt you can hide money inside of with a zipper inside.
Uh-huh.
That one was important to him too.
Huh.
I'm not sure why.
I was just going to ask you why, but apparently it was a mystery.
Yeah, that was a mystery. I've never been sure about that one. This is also a tortured artist. This is a tortured artist in his punk portrait.
Huh.
So, yeah. And he shaved for this too. He never shaves.
Oh, really?
Yeah. His wife was furious at him.
This portrait of Joey Ramone, how did that one come about?
Oh, that's at Winterland, Bill Graham.
Uh-huh.
Winterland. I was actually walking backstage looking for their dressing room, and I saw him walking toward me, and that was painted on the wall right next to me, and I asked him if he would pose between them.
Mm.
And he said, sure. So he stood there and took his picture. That's how that happened. I photographed him in several places around the city. I photographed him quite a few times, the whole band. But that's my favorite. That one appeared in one San Francisco magazine, and they said they thought that was the most iconic punk photograph that they'd seen. The juxtaposition of the 60s to the 70s punk scene.
Yeah.
That's what I love about it too.
Thank you. And that's the Sleepers. That's working. And I heard that when they first started playing, he actually was in mental home and had to have his nurse in attendance with him to perform. I think he died of AIDS or an overdose from the needle. If he got AIDS, it was from he was heroin. But he used to get in trouble playing at Mabuhay because he would destroy the microphone so often by slamming it against the floor and things.
Mm.
But their music is incredible. It's like sort of halfway to magical, almost like in the sense that Syd Barrett type Pink Floyd is magical in that way. And that there's the Dead Boys. Yeah, this is outside Mabuhay Gardens. Every now and then the police would come by and arrest everybody in line buying tickets to go into the club and accuse them of loitering just to harass them. They'd bring a paddy wagon and throw the people in because they didn't like punks.
That's crazy, man.
And the mayor once declared war on punks to get rid of them all.
So are you thinking of Stiv Bators?
Yes, Stiv Bators.
Bators, okay.
Yeah, that's how I say it. I don't know if I say it right.
Well, I'm well, you can guarantee it's not the way I said it. So that, I mean, there's that.
Well, I have no idea.
By the way,
right.
Todd, Stiv is from Ohio. There you go.
Oh, yeah. So did you know Perubu?
No.
That's one of my favorite bands I photographed.
Perubu?
Pear, P-E-R-E.
What did you love about that band?
You don't know them?
I do not. No.
Oh, the singer just died recently, a few weeks ago. Well, Perubu is a character from a surrealist play, like in the 20s.
Okay.
And they're surrealist punk rock. You almost have to experience them. They're an incredible band. They're from Ohio, and singer can do this stream of consciousness talking that's really fast, that's phenomenal. He used to do museum talks, and he would do the talking between every song that would just start and stop immediately as they went into the next song. And very, very strange, very surreal. But they're hard to explain because they're so one of a kind. Yeah, should listen to some songs like 30 Seconds Over Tokyo. You have to listen to Perubu.
I'll check it out. I'm getting an education with some of these bands tonight, just so you know.
Yeah, one of my very favorite photos is Perubu.
So are we talking about...
So they're one of the more creative. Yeah. There he is. See the guy, the hand with the cigarette? That's David Thomas. That's the singer from Perubu.
Okay.
And that pretty much captures his personality.
I really love that photograph, man.
Thank you.
Something about it that is, yeah.
Then that one of the Avengers next to it's one of my earliest ones. That actually might be 76 or 77, early 77.
Yeah, it says 77 on the caption.
Yeah, it might even be 76. I'm not sure. I think that's the Avengers' very first show. And
then you got this cool photograph of Val Vale with what looks like some kind of metal tubing wrapped around his face.
Yeah. You see, that's one I did in my studio.
Did you have interaction with the Sex Pistols?
Yes, I was on stage with them when they played.
How did that come about?
I just showed my search and destroy card and asked if I could go on stage, and they said, sure.
Man,
I had a search and destroy press card.
Those were the days where you could actually have access to people, right?
Yeah, it was way different. Yeah, it was funny. I used my press card quite a bit to get into shows. And it was funny, in San Francisco, search and destroy would be on the newsstands, like next to Ladies Home Journal and things.
So I got a question, because pretty much anybody that listens to any kind of music or has any kind of history knows the Sex Pistols. I mean, they're probably the quintessential punk band, right? How do you compare them to the punk scene bands in San Francisco?
Well, I wouldn't say I was ever addicted to their music.
Right.
But it was fun watching them. Their album from that show just came out recently.
Okay.
I think 5 albums came out from 5 different shows in the U.S.
Okay.
And they're in vinyl stores right now.
All right.
I bought the San Francisco one. I managed to get through one side of it, but
and seriously, if people like the Sex Pistols, if that's their vibe, but don't know anything about the San Francisco scene, will they be blown? Like, would you tell them, well, if you like this, then you need to go see these people that we just talked about, the Avengers and the Sleepers, and
except the Avengers are much better.
Okay.
And the Sleepers are way different. The Sleepers would be far more creative,
right?
And they would never like the bands like Tuxedo Moon or something, because they sound they're mixed with too much jazz and classical, and then there'd be like bands like Tommy Tadlock and the Lockettes, who don't even sound like punk, but we're in that genre.
Sure.
That was somebody who drove around town in a car completely covered in plastic toys with no windows at all.
I mean, because it's interesting because, obviously the punk scene wasn't my, I've heard it, like, I like Iggy Pop. But I didn't really know Iggy Pop till the mid 70s and then after. Right. So, but all these names that you've been throwing out, like, these are all new to me, and I never was into the punk scene. Like, the Sex Pistols didn't really do anything for me, but it's interesting to hear. So having somebody that has your experience to be able to talk about that, talk to that, that's why I asked the question. Yeah.
The Sex Pistols I think it's what they represented. And they were such diverse personalities. there were after parties, and it was a wild night. I actually went home from the Sex Pistols. I went to a party first, and one of them was there, but he was locked in the bathroom, so I never saw. I think it was Sid Vicious. And then I went to my studio, got really high, and listened to Leonard Cohen all night.
Oh.
And I did a still life that's one of my favorite photos I ever took.
Nice. I love Leonard Cohen.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
That's what I was listening to. I was listening to a lot of Leonard Cohen back then. Yeah.
And what was the still life?
Smoke with a skylight and just some objects with shapes below it that were ambiguous. You can't really tell what they are. It's mostly just dreamy smoke and light.
I think this is very fascinating to me because I don't think that a lot of people realize just how diverse the punk scene was and how it evolved over time, right?
I know. That's one of the things I'm kind of obsessed with, is trying to make more people realize that. There were bands that sounded like rap, and there was a lot of electronic things, very much like electronic. Even, I don't know, are you familiar with Robin Gristle and Cabaret Voltaire and all those?
Oh God, no.
No.
I've been under a rock, evidently.
This is why I'm loving this conversation, because of the fact that you're turning me on to all these. I love music. And
me too.
You know, sometimes you go through a period and there's bands that you miss. One of my favorite radio stations on Sirius Radio is Little Steven's Underground Garage.
Oh yeah.
Because they play all these, you know, old garage bands or punk bands, and I'm like, oh my God, that is amazing. And then, you know, and then I go down the rabbit hole and I'm like, God, why didn't these people ever like hit it big? Like that's amazing music, right?
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, there are probably a lot like that.
Yeah.
That's great. Yeah. That's too bad. You just have to meet the right person or have the right luck or something.
Yeah.
Have the right energy. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's a ton of luck involved. I mean, because I'm sure there's musicians, punk rock musicians and all that are far more talented and that just never got the break because they didn't have the luck, you know?
Yeah. I know, like the guys from the Sleepers, they were immensely talented, and they went out and had other bands and kept trying and trying, but they seemed to have bad luck. Like they every time they'd go to New York, their van would get stolen with all their equipment, or
oh God,
the singer would get gangrene in his leg or something.
Jesus.
Yeah. Then the next time, the singer got robbed while riding at gunpoint while riding the subway, things like that. Yeah. It's like every single time.
That's funny.
A disaster happened. He just had some kind of hex on him that he couldn't do it. He couldn't go forward without something terrible happening.
Wow.
You have a long-standing relationship with Devo. How did that come about?
That came about working with Search and Destroy. I met them, and they were sleeping at my friend's house, at Ricky Trance's house. The photo that's on tour with them right now for the 19 shows is from 1977, and that they're actually sleeping in the room. After they were finished with this photo session, they roll out their sleeping bags and they're sleeping in this room. That's their crash bed. And it's at Ricky Trance's flat in San Francisco. And the other end of the house are the Weirdos. They're sleeping at the other end. I don't know if you have the Weirdos photo in that set.
Let me see here.
It's more romantic looking, darker.
Okay. How much direction did you give the guys in the band to get this particular photograph? Were they doing their own thing, or was it just you kind of like, hey, prompting them here and there?
I was prompting them to make sure all their faces showed. And I had an idea to not stand in such a straight line. And then they kind of played with it. So it was a combination. I'd say it was a collaboration for that.
Do you think that makes the best photos when you actually are in a state of collaboration with a subject or with a group?
I'd say the best photo is when to get people to be their true personality. So I try to put them in a place where they feel free to be animated or unanimated to be who they really are. I don't like to order people around and say, do this and do that, or put your arm there. And I kind of work the opposite way. And I work more psychologically, usually. This one, because when there's multiple people, it's more difficult because people tend to get behind each other and lose their face and things like that if you're trying to show everyone. Although, because I think more abstractly, you don't always have to see all the right things, but like it's okay if somebody disappears or has a bad expression, which most people don't like that idea, but I do. Maybe not so much back then. I can't remember exactly how I thought back then, but nowadays I'm really into trying to get people to relax and be themselves and to express who they are. I don't like photographers that order the person to put your arm here, turn your head this way, except for, well, if it makes a big difference for the lighting or something like that, and it's an obvious thing, then I'll do some tweaking that way. But the main thing is to try to get the person to be comfortable and confident and to find their inner weird personality and bring it out. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I do know what you mean. And I'm just curious about what are some of your tools that you use? Is it mostly through conversation, just getting them to kind of forget that you're even doing a photo session?
Yeah, and I shoot a lot between poses. Like sometimes I'll put somebody into a pose to unpose them afterward and then use the unpose as the actual picture and just keep talking to them and convince them that they don't have to pose because everyone says, now what do I do? Or what should I do?
Right.
And I always say nothing because the photo is about you and you're already there.
Yeah.
You don't have to do anything. Everything's there that you need.
Yeah, I heard an interesting perspective on a YouTube video, and I don't remember who the photographer is, but he photographs celebrities, and he was saying sometimes he'll get like 20 minutes with with a subject, and he'll spend 15 minutes talking to him, and then he'll take 3-4 shots, and those will work because he's built this relationship and this trust.
Yes.
And
I can see that. Yeah. I always tell people I want to spend half an hour with them before I start shooting if I can.
Yeah.
Or sometimes I'll shoot a little bit if I see something.
Right.
But I tell them I want to get to know them a little bit first. Whenever I can, always when I can, I'll start shooting and then we'll take a break after a short session and relax. And then when we go back to the second session, it's always way stronger.
Right.
Because you feel more connected, I've noticed. So I kind of like to do that as a pattern.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they've gotten the jitters out from the first one, right? So, because everybody's a little stiff when you first start shooting. So if you take a break, come back to it, it's like nothing. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. You've probably seen that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And then I try to say things to them to psychologically build their confidence and tell them genuine things that I like about them or like about their work or whatever, and make them, if I'm photographing them, it's somebody, especially nowadays, it's somebody that I really admire their work and things. So it's easy to flatter them because it's definitely going to be genuine because I'm not working with them if I don't like them. So
right.
Wasn't always the case because I used to shoot like attorney firms. There were guys would come in and cross their arms and grimace and go, let's get this over with. I hate having my picture taken more than I hate having my teeth pulled.
Oh my God. Well, that just set the mood.
Yeah.
I know.
Things that
exactly.
you don't want to hear as a photographer.
Right, no doubt.
I know.
So
I remember one came in, even though I did some commercial work in my studio downtown Denver, I hung only creative art things on the wall. One guy came in and he looked at my wall and he goes, "You don't know how to do what I need. They're going to have to find someone else." And he walked out and left.
Oh my God. That's funny. That's hilarious.
Oh man.
I know.
That's a great story.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I was trying to say to him as he left, I can do other kinds of work too.
My God.
I can just so picture that, you know.
I think so a lot of it were weirdo punks and strange people, and it's like I think it just scared him.
Oh man. I appreciate that though. I mean, I appreciate the fact that you have this very diverse body of work, from your commercial to the art stuff to the documentation of musicians and the punk scene. And what I like about it is you're constantly exploring and experimenting, and you're not allowing yourself to be pigeonholed to any one particular thing, right? And you just do it your way.
Yeah, I love change. I'm not the kind that likes to hold on to the past. Like, I have no problem with people say like analog photography, like they want to keep doing film photography. That's fine, but I'd rather jump to the next new thing. That's just how I am. I think there's beautiful ways of doing it from all the past things, but to me, it's already been done, and I'd rather find out what the next thing is. That's just how I am.
Yeah.
So
that's good.
I like that attitude of just looking forward and not really looking in the rearview mirror and being too hung up on any of that stuff.
Yeah, I think we're in a universe that's about change. That's all there is. I just heard that. Like, the past doesn't really exist. We only imagine it. We only have it as memory. The future doesn't exist. It hasn't happened. And the now is not a fixed thing. It's in motion. Right. So change is all there is.
Yep.
Every moment is change.
Yep. That's the whole idea of being in the moment, right?
Yeah. Right. Yeah. So every second right now we're changing.
Exactly.
We're evolving to something.
So how did you end up here in Denver? Talk about change from California to Denver.
That was 1987. I had just been married to Sydney, my wife, and she worked for, she's a visual manager, visual person for Neiman Marcus there in San Diego. And they opened a new visual store here in Denver called Printemps. That was a French-based store that was going to be a very high-end, it was a very high-end store, like higher end than, say, Neiman Marcus, very exclusive store. And they opened a store on Broadway. And her girlfriend both worked for Neiman Marcus. And they hired the cream of Neiman Marcus, the best visual people, to open the Printemps store here for visual management. They had 17 windows, and the visual manager, does the visual for the entire store, like every detail of every product and all the windows and everything. Mm-hmm. It's like an art form in itself. So high-end stores use very specialized, very creative people for that. They use artists. And we moved here, and I did their advertising photography also. So became my ad client, and they were going to open 11 stores, I think it was, in the U.S. So there was a possibility that we would have overseen like all 11 stores. And in Europe, from what I understand, they're like a Target. They're like a lower end store, and they wanted to open a very high-end store, but they didn't think they could do it in Europe, and anyone would take them seriously. So they tried it here. But the Printemps here was the American owner was corrupt and didn't handle the store very well. And so the store eventually only lasted 2 years since he like embezzled the money and stole merchandise, got in trouble for rape charges and blah, blah, blah.
Jeez.
Yeah. And appeared on TV with white cocaine marks under his nose, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, no, the savings company that had given him the money for the American side took ownership from him, and they were also in trouble. So they were liquidated by the government, and basically that was the end of it. But we love being here, so we stayed. Sydney got a job with Neiman Marcus and then was their visual manager there. And then after leaving that store, went on to open Sacred Thistle with my daughter, which was a very popular, unusual store here in Denver. That's their history. And then I just kept working, and I was working with a lot of modeling agencies and doing some fashion work and a lot of music, getting connected to a lot of music management people that manage bands, and they were sending me all their bands. Yeah.
Nice. So you got to continue to work in music when you moved to Denver.
Yeah. I photographed tons of bands and model portfolios. Modeling agencies were sending me their models to do model portfolios and that kind of thing. So that was kind of my bread and butter stuff.
Gotcha.
And then I started working more in museums. My regular thing became like shooting museum events and documenting museum installations and artist portraits, which is what even now I still do. The artist portraits is my specialty. Yeah. I love working with artists. So
yeah, they're the best, right? Because they're up for anything, just like your buddy Bruce Conner. Like, they bring some creativity to the table. It's not like the guy that walked in and needed a headshot for his, his law firm or whatever, his corporate job, right?
Yeah, they're people that aren't afraid to be themselves. They don't just try to fit in. They don't need that photo that looks just like everyone else's.
Right.
Did you enjoy doing the museum work?
I loved it. Yeah. Because it's all the coolest people hanging out there, and almost all left. They're almost all left wing. So I noticed that about the art world. It's probably like 85% left wing, at least, maybe more.
Right.
Or left, or people who think that way. And then it heads of Hydra. Yeah.
Are we like reading each other's mind?
You just go in there, weren't you, Todd?
Yeah.
That's why I said that. Yeah. Yes, I'm psychic. Yeah. Well, that's what my psychic reader told me.
Okay. Well, you hit the nail right on the head, man, because that's exactly what I was just going to ask you about, like Heads of Hydra and what that's about and how that came about.
Yeah. Well, that came about kind of for two reasons. It actually came about in the 90s when I was being left out of art groups that were showing around town. I had come to town with a large portfolio. Oh, when I was in San Diego, I should backtrack just a little. I owned a gallery named Pink and Pearl that was named after the last intersection I lived at in San Francisco, Pink and Pearl, which was an intersection of turn of the century brothel, 19th century, where I lived with Deborah Valentine putting that Search and Destroy book together. And I loved the name Pink and Pearl and the fact that it had a brothel on it. I thought that was wild. So I named my gallery Pink and Pearl and discovered that a lot of things, that Pink and Pearl was a slang term from the 19th century that meant part of a girl. And the landlord, the place I rented on 8th and G in San Diego, when I moved in for the gallery studio, the landlord said, this used to be used as a brothel. So I thought that was strange.
Yeah.
By coincidence.
Yeah.
And so I opened that as my gallery, and we became a pretty popular gallery, had a lot of press. I knew how to get press by being off the wall, by being different. It's because I'd worked with magazines and the press people before. And one thing that they crave is anything different, because they get so much stuff that's all the same. Everybody follows the formula, and they get so tired of looking at everything that all looks exactly the same and it all sounds the same. And if they see one thing that stands out, they go, wow, here's something interesting. Just by putting in a sense of humor or putting in something upside down or weird. And I have a knack for doing that, doing that well. So I had a lot of publicity and made it a very successful gallery because of that. And it was a nonprofit gallery. I let the artists keep all the money, and I used it to promote my photography just as a PR thing, and showed all my punk artist friends from different countries, and a lot from California and San Francisco. And that was in San Diego. So that was fun. Came back to Colorado, and the gallery had been too much work to run and do my photo work too. So I decided not to do it here, but I really miss doing it. So that was part of the incentive for starting a photo, a group thing. And first it was called the Denver Tea Party. And the reason for that was because I was in a tax fight with the tax people, because they had locked up my studio because I owed them $100. They put a giant padlock on my studio door, and I couldn't go in.
That's crazy.
I know. So they were taking possession of my studio and my life work because I owed them $100. And it ended up costing me like $500 after I had to pay the locksmith and everything. So I got on my bicycle and I rode down to the tax office and cleared off some of their desks. And because I was so irate, I kind of did more than I should have. And they called in extra security. And they called in one of the city council people to talk to me, to try to talk sense into me.
That's funny.
Wow, Richard. I would never have guessed that from you, because you're so chill all the time. I mean, my interaction with you, you know?
That only happens once every 100 years. I was so outraged that they'd lock up my studio for $100.
That is ridiculous.
It was insane. And then, yeah. So there was another thing that I was feeling left out, because nobody would ever invite me into any of the photo salon shows or like the photographer groups. I was showing them my portfolio of all these newspaper articles and reviews and things that I'd had from California, where I'd had some great successes. And nobody seemed interested, and nobody wanted to put me in their shows. And I was kind of like, wow, that's weird. So I thought, well, I'm going to fight the tax people, and nobody wants to show me. I'll just start my own group. So I started the Denver Tea Party, and I invited some photographer friends to show with me. And we started showing at coffee houses and bars and galleries in different places. And later, the Tea Party became a political thing. So I decided to change the name to Heads of Hydra, which is based on the surrealist group called Group Hydra. Search and Destroy, the co-publisher, was a hardcore surrealist. He had a huge surrealist library. And a lot of rare surrealist material that most people wouldn't know about, the kind of the true history of surrealism. And wild parties where people dressed as beasts of the unconscious and had to crawl into the upstairs party, crawling through black balloons like that were filling the stairwell. And yeah, it was wild times.
Sounds like it.
Yeah, sitting next to actual shrunken heads from tribal regions and
oh wow,
things like that. Yeah, I have some photos in the Encyclopedia of Surrealism from that party. But it's a 3-volume set you can buy.
That's cool. So Head to Hydra, that started, and how long has that been going on?
That's been going on several years now. We did several gallery shows, but I ran it by myself for several years. And as I was getting older, it was just too hard to do, to find people to help me hang it. And I can't remember exactly when the transition was, when I went from Denver Tea Party to Heads of Hydra. I'd have to do some research. But yeah, it's been going on a while, but then I decided it was just too much for myself and I would like to work with other people. So then I added Dave Seiler, who's amazing. He's an amazing artist himself, kind of dark humor. And he's got great wit to his work and incredible knowledge of art. And, you know, he works as an art handler, handling some of the most expensive art in the world.
Yeah, he's got some crazy stories.
Yeah, you've heard some of his stories. Yeah. And he's hung art like for museums and works for billionaires, you know, hauling around art that's too valuable to put in museums. So he hangs our art in coffee houses, which is crazy. And wherever we show. And he's great to work with. He's just a great person. And then more recently, we added Paul Storm, who's part Native American, Alaskan, and philosopher. He's very knowledgeable of philosophy and has studied shamanism and Taoism. And he's a writer and has writing online. So he's our philosopher of the group, and he writes along with photograph. He's also a great photographer. He does experimental photography. So he brings a unique element to the group. And then Tanya, who you know, and she's published magazines, and she's a hard worker and has all these great ideas. And it does interesting photography. Her newest stuff is her best ever, I think. So I think we have a great group. We just added someone else too.
So has it been kind of a revolving door of different people throughout the years?
No, this is the first time we've had extra people.
Oh, okay.
No, it's all new. That's all a new idea.
Okay.
Trying to get everyone to be able to add their own creative input and collaborate together and think of new ideas and we're going to build a new website, and like Paul's writing a manifesto of our group. And yeah, we're just I told everyone just to have fun and see what we can do. And Paul made stickers that we're putting on defacing places all over town and putting on graffiti walls and stuff.
Right on.
He's been sending us the laws about how much we can get fined and put in prison or whatever if we get caught. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
You call yourself an anti-curator. Talk a little bit about that.
Okay. I call myself that because 2 reasons. Bruce Conner, because he never liked curators and he always liked things done exactly as he wanted them. And he was stubborn about making sure things were never put against his will in his shows. He would quit shows if you changed his idea. And he thought curators could never know how to do it right. Only he knew how to do it right. So you had to listen to him. Only the artist really knew, which I thought actually kind of made sense. because how could somebody else know the artist thought what they really meant? I kind of saw what he meant, and I don't have a thing against curators, but I think if a curator overrides the artist and puts too much of themselves into it, that could be wrong. And that's happened to me. I've had shows where I thought the person who curated it threw out my most creative work because it didn't look right, or it didn't look generic enough of what it was supposed to look like. And that really bothered me. So that was part of the reason too. So yeah, and that'd be my other reason for being anti-curator, because I think the artist should have the freedom to say what they really want to say without somebody else filtering them. And that's what I feel like curators do sometimes. Not always. If a curator really understands an artist, they might do a great job. But maybe not always. So anyway, I just thought it would be fun to be called anti-curator. And we all have creative titles. Paul is Urban Decay. And Dave is Art Chef. Since he used to be a chef. Yeah. Analog Alchemist. That's what Tanya is.
That's a fitting name for her. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love all those. That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
And I love the kind of DIY aesthetic, that makes sense as far as, where you've come from and
yeah, that's a big part of early punk. And I always had that even before punk. That was just always what I did. I always wanted to kind of build my own world and do things the way I wanted to do them because nobody else wanted to. Just my nature. I always wanted to have creative titles for things like that. Even, Search and Destroy did that. Like I was aerial photographer in Search and Destroy, which wasn't literal. That wasn't what I really was. Or the Denver Tea Party, I was the Mad Hatter because it was based on Alice in Wonderland and the tax fighting party of the Tea Party that's in Alice in Wonderland. So, and even on my high school paper, I had a creative title. So I always did that. Not sure why. It's something I wanted to do.
It's just part of the whole thing, man. Part of being part of the creative endeavor, having a creative endeavor.
Yeah, I always wanted to break the mold or something and change how everything's done.
And I love how, you thought, you're in these museums, you've had exhibitions, and yet you weren't getting any invites from people around town, and you were just like, screw it, I'll just do my own thing. And I can totally appreciate that. Like, all right, I'll start my own party. I don't need these guys.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I get much better recognition in like California or the other cities than I do here. I'm not sure why.
It's so weird, man.
Maybe that's typical, though. I've heard a lot of bands say the same thing, where they go to Europe, like Apples and Stereo, bands like that. They go to Europe and they do really well, but they come back here and they can barely fill a place. Tuxedo Moon, the band I mentioned earlier, that's why they left the U.S. They couldn't get any recognition here, and they went to Europe and did extremely well, and tour Italy and do sellout shows in big places, and come back to the U.S. and can hardly fill those small places. So just strange how that is.
Yeah. There's something to be said about this whole idea of like not in my backyard, like there's no experts in my backyard. I think that's part of it. They're always like, I got to go somewhere else to get the expertise,
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah. That's a good point, though. That's true.
Moving forward, you have any exhibitions coming up, either with Heads of Hydra or any other shows?
I'm in the Devo tour right now. The 19 galleries are showing my work with 3 other photographers. They're Devo favorites, and they the night before or the day before each concert, Devo is going to the gallery and signing my print. If somebody buys it, the entire band will meet you and sign the print for you.
Wow.
If you buy the print for $2,000 to the galleries are selling them for different prices. I'm not sure why.
Oh, that's interesting.
$2,000 to $2,700. Maybe it's the cost of the frame or something. I'm not sure. Yeah, that's kind of a unique tour they set up.
Yeah.
And I did a show in August in San Francisco at the Haight Street Art Center that more than 1,000 people came to the opening. So that was pretty cool. And that was their first non-psychedelic show. That's a place that was opened by the Grateful Dead live concert, free concert in 1967, I think it was. And they've only had psychedelic art there constantly until this show.
Wow.
So
wow.
I heard that some people quit and several of the older employees completely freaked out because punks were coming in, and they have the entire collection of Jerry Garcia paintings upstairs. So they had to barricade it to make sure nobody would go up and damage Jerry's art while they were having the punk show. But it was a wild scene.
Sounds like it.
Yeah. No, and it was funny. It was a mixture of young people, but a lot of the old punks that were my age. And there were people in wheelchairs walking with canes with silver hair. So all these elderly people dressed like punks walking around. It was actually crazy looking.
Somebody should have photographed the event.
That's what I was just thinking.
I did.
No, did you?
I photographed it. Yeah. Yeah, it was like nothing I've ever seen.
That's funny.
It's like, I couldn't get enough of it. It was like, wow, these people are, some people are really aged, but I had people coming up to me that were super old looking and all wrinkled and silver hair. And they go, "Richard, do you remember me?" I go, "Whoa." I didn't want to say no. And they go, "I remember you jumping around on the stage up there taking pictures." It's like, well, you probably saw me a lot more than I saw you because I was
right. Yeah. That's funny.
Oh man.
Yeah. But it was a fantastic experience. But yeah.
It sounds like it. If I come visit you, I want to see some of those photos from that event because that sounds really intriguing.
Yeah, I'll post some.
Okay.
I need to work on my website. I'll post some there. Yeah.
Sounds good.
Or on Instagram. Yeah.
Yeah.
I need to catch up on things. I'm just starting to get caught up on things. I rebuilt my studio and finished some other big jobs, and now I think I can catch up. Yeah.
Do you ever really catch up though as a photographer? No. I always feel like there's something you need to be working on or doing.
No, you never catch up completely, but I want to catch up to the point where I'm working on what I want to be working on.
Right.
I don't want to be rebuilding my studio and moving. I want to be doing creative work, not physical work.
Right.
Anything else you want to mention, talk about?
Well, I hope we're not in World War III.
Me too.
Well, let's hope this gets released before World War III. How's that?
Yeah, I hope so too.
It's pretty scary times, that's for sure.
Yeah. I'm not very happy with our current government. That's
right.
Yeah. And I hope everybody will join me at the protest, which I've been going to. I've been protesting since I was young. I used to go to Levin's and protest in the 60s.
That's funny.
And I was tear gassed in Berkeley in the 70s, early 70s.
I've been tear gassed, but it was in the military, so in a chamber.
Yeah.
It's a little different.
Yeah. Was that where they made you practice?
Yeah, it was when I was in boot camp in the Marine Corps. Well, we had to recertify, so you go in and get tear gassed. So
I just watched a video by a Marine, a girl who was in the Marines, and she was explaining what to do when you get tear gassed. She said it's actually like a powder.
Yeah.
And you shouldn't put water on it.
No water. Don't put hot water on it, and don't touch your face because it reacts to moisture. So if you're sweating, San Diego, I was in San Diego, really hot.
So she was too.
Yeah. And so you have to take off your gas mask, and you have to, say all this stuff because they want you to breathe in, and then you have and then you got to don and clear your mask. And then you get out and snot's hanging down to your knees, and some people are puking, and yeah.
Yeah. She said for the protesters, she recommended you to spin over and let it run its course.
Yeah.
And try to get in a wind and let it blow off.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, but the experience if you've been gassed. Yeah. So.
Yeah. Yeah. But I probably tried to wash it off with wet cloths and stuff because I didn't know better.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So it attacks your mucous membranes. That's why snot hangs out. And it's a horrible experience. So I feel bad for people like you that are, you're out there protesting, and all of a sudden you find yourself gassed. That's sucks.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. Except that we were peaceful protesters, but some of the others had turned over every car in a new car lot. So like a car sales lot.
Yeah.
Suddenly they were all upside down.
It's crazy.
I know.
That'd be a photograph right there.
I know, but I don't like doing that kind of stuff. I don't like the violence part. I don't think people should do that.
Right.
Because that always backfires. And it's like I hate when defacing Tesla cars. How do you know the person that owns it isn't a Democrat or whatever? Or how do you know you're not hurting someone that isn't on your side?
Yeah.
That doesn't make any sense.
Well, and like you said, it backfires because it feeds the fire of the other side. See, I told you they can't protest peacefully. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. I just saw a comment like that on one of that neighborhood. What is it? Neighborhood app?
Oh, yeah.
Is that what it's called?
I think so.
Someone on there wrote, I can't believe how violent those protesters in Denver were at that No Kings thing. So I wrote, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
He said, hundreds were arrested. They were so violent. I have no idea where they even got that from.
Yeah. So they're watching LA. I think they have to be.
Yeah. Yeah. But they specifically said Denver.
That's funny.
I know.
Because pretty much everywhere else, it was pretty peaceful except for, I believe, LA, from my understanding.
Yeah. And there were a couple instances where there was some violence, but it was MAGA people attacking.
Sure.
That's a whole different thing.
Yep.
And our police and the San Diego police made posts praising the protesters for being so great and so peaceful.
Nice. Yeah.
So I thought that was cool. The San Diego ones did too. And how often do you see police doing that?
Right.
Yeah.
So I thought that was cool. And the police here, they also commented that they intentionally backed off and let us do what we wanted. Which I hadn't realized till after they said that.
Yeah.
And that made sense because there was I don't know if you noticed, there was a veteran guy in a wheelchair who kept pretending to block traffic at the red light every time the light changed.
I did see that.
Yeah, he kept rolling out in front of the cars and facing them, trying to look menacing. Then as soon as the light started changing, he'd roll back out of the way.
So when they turned green, he would get out of the way so they could proceed.
Yes.
Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah, he was just playing a game with them all. He did it every single light change.
Funny.
Yeah. And three guys with giant American flags were kind of working with him and hanging them down so they were practically draping on the cars as they drove by. So they were making this whole, I think they were all veterans.
That's funny.
Yeah, there were a lot of veterans there. I thought that was cool.
Yeah, I thought that was cool too. It was a very diverse crowd. It was refreshing to see just how diverse the crowd was.
That's good.
Yeah. Yeah, I liked that there were older ladies with their walkers, and I saw that, and women with newborn infants, like every age range possible, and looked like every lifestyle there is.
Yep, for sure.
Yeah.
Families. I saw young families there with their kids. I was just like, wow, that's cool.
Yeah, exactly. And I thought so too. And it looked like every class of people, upper middle class, lower middle class, just seemed like everybody was represented, was my feeling. And intellectuals and truck drivers, and like they're all there.
Nice. That's the way it should be.
Yeah. And lots of kindness. I saw people like handing out free water and other drinks and snacks, and people had free stickers and places where you could make signs. It was really cool.
Oh, did you see the group of people that were dressed in all black, like black cloaks, and they only had slits for their eyes?
I might have passed those people when I was leaving.
I was wondering who they were, and one ran up to me and goes, "You want some water?"
Really?
At first I thought, are those anarchists? They look kind of menacing.
Well, I walked past this group, me and another friend of mine who's a photographer, and as we were walking down the street, I'm like, I kind of turned to John and I said, "Do you smell that?" And he's like, "Yeah." And I was like, "Do you think that was those people back there?" Because it's like serious gasoline smell. And I didn't think about it in the moment, but I was just like, I mean, it wasn't like it was moving. It wasn't like somebody spilt a bunch of gas somewhere. And then my thought after the fact is like, oh, I wonder if they have some kind of gasoline, like a Molotov cocktail. I don't think that was the case, but the gasoline smell was serious enough that it made me give pause for a second and go, where is that coming from?
Wow.
Right. Wow.
Probably not the same people that was giving you water.
Right.
Or offer you water.
Right. Yeah, that's crazy. Oh, for the next show, I'm working on a show with Bruce Conner and Ruby Ray that for New York with the Paula Cooper Gallery is showing interest. So
cool.
So we're trying to do something with that.
That would be awesome. If that comes to fruition, let us know, and we'll definitely, promote it, publicize it on our social media.
I will. So the Bruce Conner Estate is helping me work on that. So
nice.
You're a busy guy, man. You got a lot of irons in the fire.
Yeah, I try to stay busy. I'm busier now than when I was working. So
that's funny.
Wes, you got anything else?
No, man. This has been a great night. I want to have you on again, though, because there's a whole other topic I want to talk about, but I'm not even going to mention it until after we're off the podcast.
Okay.
So, but
I'm curious what it is.
Yeah. But anyway,
we never went into.
We'll leave them hanging, because I truly want to have you on and have a more deeper dive about those kind of subject matters. But I've had a great time tonight. Yeah. I've learned a ton about punk. I wrote a whole list of things to look into, and names you dropped. And this has been wonderful. So I really, really appreciate it, Richard.
Yeah. I'll tell you, my favorite punk band that sounds kind of like punk is Wire.
Wire?
Yeah.
I'll look them up.
They consider their music to be like sculpture. It sounds sculpture.
Okay.
And they're an art school band. And I really like them. Yeah.
Richard, thank you so much. Really appreciate you spending the time that you did with us this evening.
You're welcome.
My last question of the evening is, do you have a mantra or motto that you live by?
Well, the phrase I've been using for Heads of Hydra is expanding creative consciousness, but motto that abandon cliches. I used to use that.
I like that one.
Maybe I'm about to have a new one. I think with the new Heads of Hydra group, we're building a new thing. Yeah, I'm waiting for you to tell me what it is. It's up to you.
Okay. All right. Let me chew on that a little
bit. It's
a
challenge.
Yeah, he threw down the gauntlet. All right.
What usually happens with these things is as soon as we end, I'll think of 1,000 things I should have said.
Yep.
Doesn't that always happen?
Well, I like the one that you're currently using with Heads of Hydra. I think that was nice.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I agree.
I like that one. I've been using that pretty consistently. So,
good.
Because that goes with my the consciousness thing, which is tied to the other thing
that we can't mention because that's for another show.
Yeah. And because those are more related than I realized at first. I'm learning, but
excellent.
I have a pretty metaphysical side. I'm very much into things related to metaphysics. I won't say all of it.
Right. Well, and that's what I want to talk about, because I don't know if would label myself as metaphysical, but I love the discussions about it and hearing people's perspectives. So that being said,
that's good enough. Yeah, that's good enough. Yeah.
Right on, man. Remember to follow Richard. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah. Well, that's related to physics, and so it's science too.
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
Oh man, I had such a good time tonight. Remember to follow Richard on Instagram at rpphoto and check out Richard's work on his website, richardaldenpeterson.com. I will have all this and more in this week's episode notes for the Tenet Podcast. I'm Todd Pearson.
And I'm Wes Brown.
Have a great week.